Hey, welcome to Back on the Broomstick. I'm Layla.
And I am Shell. And OMG, you guys do not even understand why we're on the air today. Something has come up. We have some amazing news. Get on the edge of your seat. We have Jamie Della back for a book giveaway.
Jamie Della got in touch with us, said she was going to be back in her hometown where her ancestors once walked, and that she had an amazing giveaway for us. So we got to sit down and talk to Jamie yet again while she's on her book tour for A Box of Magic.
Reconnecting with her old community, old friends and family. I'm actually kind of jealous.
Same. It sounds like she's been having a blast. Pagan Pride, going to see friends, book signings, Barnes and Noble. It sounds wonderful. But in the midst of it all, she gave us a call, sat down with us, and told us where she's at, and she's got a giveaway for you all. So stick around to the end for the details.
Welcome to Back on the Broomstick,
A modern witch's spoken word grimoire.
where two witchy friends from way back are reconnecting to their pagan roots after a long period of mundanity.
We're rewalking the path of the wise and trying out all the latest spells, rituals, and magical theory in today's witchcraft and pagan practices.
So grab your wand and your incense
Your cauldron and your crystals
and join us
as we get
back on the broomstick.
We are here with the wonderful, the luminescent, the gorgeous and radiant Jamie Della. Hello, hello, and welcome back.
Hello, hello. It does help to have the ceiling light above me, radiating the light that's spinning. I planned that. Actually, I didn't plan that at all.
It really looks like a crown.
It does.
I know. It was kind of an interesting a moment. So as I slid into home base here to take this phone call and conversation with you, because I have been waiting. Like I said, I harvested this huge sage from this plant that I have been going to visiting for about 20 years.
Ooh,
wow.
And it's in this elbow where our family has lived since 1806 is when they built the adobe.
Oh, wow.
And down from this adobe, maybe a 10-minute walk, or the hill where the adobe is this sagebush. So this
Roots.
is
wow.
Real roots.
Real, yeah. And then awake, like, here I am, roots.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you look glowing. You look so happy. I mean, I know the light is part of it, but you definitely look so energetic and happy.
It's a double whammy. I'm in the middle of a book tour in Orange County where I grew up, and I just got my peacock feather tattoo updated. So I've got a little of that woohoo. I just had a tattoo fixed up, and it's peacock feather. When my mom got breast cancer, I got for Hera, I got the peacock feather, and it just the eye keeps getting bigger and more vibrant. And that is, of course, the magic of the mitochondrial DNA and the mother goddess of Hera. So I feel like that's also where I'm at today. And I'm I'm so excited to talk to you ladies again.
I wanted to just quick, before we get started, share something that came through on our Instagram today. Today of all days, the day we get back with you.
Mm-hmm.
This person commented on our original Instagram post from when we chatted with you a couple weeks back. And her name was Amanda, and she wrote, "This is the first episode I've listened to, and I'm completely enthralled. I had to park at the office so I could finish listening. I can't wait to hear the next one, and I am definitely getting my hands on Jamie's new book."
Oh,
That's really cool. Hey, Amanda, welcome to the Broomstick.
this is how we build community. One hug at a time. One hug at a time. Oh, or one connection, right? I'm having so much fun watching what Connie is pulling together. I mean, it's been really exciting.
So much has happened since you were on last. I'm loving all of it. It's great.
And I love how Connie is mentoring still more than just you. She is now
Yes.
mentoring so many people.
Right. I mean, so I'm here in Orange County, where I grew up, and my family has lived here since the late 1700s. And I've been coming to grips with their heritage, their legacy, the good and the ugly of it. And it's a lot. It's very intense to be a witch
Yeah.
and to feel this strength coming from this legacy of Spanish and Mexican people, and then recognizing that's also the colonist line as well.
Right.
And feeling also very connected at the same time to the spiritual side, and creating this healing. So this last weekend I came to Pagan Pride, and I'm holding up the program 25 years. So I've been going to this since 20 years ago. I sat with Raven Grimassi, and we signed books together.
Nice.
And I haven't been, in a very long time, because that long ago there was a lot of infighting among the covens in Long Beach, and it was just not comfortable for me because it wasn't where I was coming from. I was approaching magic as a form and a practice of my healing, not for anything else. And so when this last one, I was at and where I did my training was at Eye of the Cat in Long Beach, California, and that's where my mentor Connie did her training. And that's where she became a teacher. And then she had left it. And then that's when I was one of her early at-home students. But she also had a coven she was forming. And so this is the first time I'm back. It's the 25th annual Pagan Pride of Los Angeles and Orange County in California. And I was just cruising around, visiting my friends here. I was asked to be on another podcast. I was asked to do a divination conference. And it was like this homecoming feeling. It was just amazing. And then I was in the Eye of the Cat booth, and I recognized people, but I didn't always have this, oh, they're going to recognize me thing.
Oh, yeah.
If you start talking to people or you can't remember their name exactly, but you're like, your birthday is in May, like you remember some funky aspect, And so I'm sitting there in the Eye of the Cat booth, and then suddenly one of the gals from another booth ran in and grabbed the woman whom I recognized but didn't know her name. And she said, Kelly, did you hear? The book about Connie is out, and Jamie Della is here to sign it. She has a workshop she's giving. I don't know where she is. And I was right there. I was like a foot next to her. And then I said, it's me, and it was so funny because my friend said, well, it would have been really fun if you could have just said coolly, like, oh, tell me about the book. and I said, of course, but I'm not cool.
I would have done the jumping up and down thing myself. Layla would have been the cool one. Layla would have been the one like, tell me what you really think.
Tell me what you really, give me the inside scoop before you know who I am or remember who I am. But they remembered me, so they turned and went, oh, Jamie. And so we're going to have an event at Eye of the Cat, and Connie's daughter is going to fly down from Idaho, and her son. And ladies, it feels like time warping on itself. It's
circles within circles and homecomings, and it's amazing. Synchronicities all over.
Yeah, and healing.
Much healing.
Yes. A lot of healing. So yeah.
Now, speaking of circling back, you're in your bedroom.
I know.
How does that feel?
I have done a lot of healing with it. Like if I could carry the whole podcast thing, I would take you around the corner, this was the master bedroom, and it was built in the 60s. So there are 2 closets, and they're both mirrored closets.
Ooh.
And then there's a mirror over the vanity, and there are 6 mirrors. Talking about returning to a circle that at 55, I can come to my teenage bedroom where I mean, there's still a dent in the wall where one time you'll love this. So I'm at the end of the long hallway, and the phone would ring. And back in the day, before everyone had a voicemail, before everyone had, the ability to capture anyone calling at any time, sometimes the phone could just ring and you might miss a very important phone call.
Run.
13, something.
Run down that hall.
Run down that hall, and it was a carpet as soon as I got to my bedroom, and I turned to make the corner, and I slid into the wall, and so there's still the dent where my knee hit the wall, and I crawled, ladies, I crawled to the phone. Hello.
You still answered the phone. Life or death situation, you answer the phone.
That was me. I admit it.
Right. We're right there. So yeah, being in this room, and then also seeing all these mirrors and realizing that's why I was so self-conscious. Jesus, every time I got out of the shower, I looked at myself 6 times. It was constant, and all that energy coming in, all the spirits of being here for 200 years, and having those spirits being able to come through all these windows
at that age when you were there in all those mirrors, were you cognizant of magic and spirituality? Did you know the
Yes.
extent of the mirrors?
Yes, because my nana was a psychic reader, and she told us that was those were their portals. She said they will come through, from the time I was 4 years old, she was educating me on magical portals like 1111, mirrors, toilets, windows, doors, how you seal them, how you bless them, how you bless a house. But she didn't, it wasn't it wasn't smudge sticks and that kind of a thing. It was more like
Right.
bells,
Mm.
and sometimes there was that concoction my friends and I would do with like baking soda and a pie tin, and you would light it on fire and different ways of just exploding smoke and air or whatever you needed to move out the energy. And so yeah, I remember her. She was the one that would, because my room was so cold, it would like
Mm.
the temperature would drop when I was a teenager. And I actually wrote about it in the book where my nana says to me, it was on the shadow chapter where my nana says to me, well, honey, the reason you're such a bitch is because you got all those spirits live in that room with you. Because
Leave
when a
it to a
room was
nana.
cold, even for my nana, she was like, well, you're kind of a bitch right now. You're 16, you're privileged, you know what I mean? This whole thing. But for some reason, the spirits want to talk to you. So they're living in this room with you. And it's probably hard to sleep.
Now go back to your bedroom with all the portals.
And go back to your bedroom with all the portals and bless each one and not fear it. I don't know if you ever read C.S. Lewis, the Chronicles of Narnia.
Mhm.
So there was one where you go into the woods between the worlds, kind of like where you are, Shell,
Yes.
like where you remember that, Layla, where you would go into the woods between the worlds, and like each tree was like another opportunity to visit another place,
Right.
and you would
All the
drop into another
portals.
time, all the portals. I've learned to look at them as portals. Do you want to go down that one or not? Do you seal it or
Mhm.
not? Do you give it energy or not? You carry your family and you work with your family ancestrally.
You had said last time that you were on, you had written a book about teenage magic,
Hmm.
spells for teenage, and then you redid that book later and revisited your teenage self, and parts of the book had come from your own journal.
Yeah.
And then you revisited that and kind of the book grew up in that time frame. So how is that now kind of you yourself have changed a lot and working with the spirits of your ancestors has probably changed a lot. So how is that going back there now? Are those same portals open? Are the same spirits there? How has it been reconnecting with that?
I'm no longer afraid. I feel like as much as I knew that I could say to the spirits, this is my time, my life, my human experience, I felt obligated. I felt like I'm the one listening. I need to do this healing work.
Like when that phone rang when you were a teenager, you felt compelled to run to answer.
Yeah. Yes. That's good. So,
She's
but
good.
yeah,
She's
she's
good.
good. But yeah, so I felt compelled to answer. Like, I'm the one listening. I need to answer. And I felt that was true with Wicca. When people would say, why are you standing up for Wicca in 2000 when it's scary? It's like, because I can. And then
Yeah.
I sat down and handed the baton over to somebody else. And now I'm coming back up again to
Yes.
hold that holy scepter. There's like, this is what it looks like when you get your own sage. This is a song to sing, and really be that person that's willing to walk the talk the walk, all of it. So I guess how I feel right now is, yes, the difference between the teen spell book and the book of spells was 18 years. It grew up. And that was just a rewrite, really, in 2019. Now this book was fully formed from the beginning to end. And yesterday I was on a walk with my son over these natural bluffs, and he said, Mom, I just started reading the book and I've cried 3 times and I'm barely through the introduction.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And I like almost
Yes.
dropped to my knees, right? I'm like, oh. And so for me, that's full circle healing, because it wasn't necessarily easy for them to be raised by a witchy mom, right?
Mhm.
right.
As much as we went to Waldorf and they were all excited and I got to be the midwife of the medieval games and all that good stuff, it's still, she's still different. Like my mom's witchy.
I can totally relate to that. I was the weird mom, and my kids were good enough that they weren't embarrassed by me, but they knew that other parents would be saying stuff. Other kids, they'd say, oh, her mom's a witch. But I made sure that my kids knew these people are just mean. And when you say mean things, that doesn't make you a better person. And my kids never let it bother them. Never.
I don't know that my kids did either, because literally when one of my sons was getting over a heartbreak, he did a ritual to get over it. I mean, they were adept at it. I think it just made them feel they were a little bit different, but I think also because we were at Waldorf and my books were at for sale in the Company of Angels in their bookshop. Like I was celebrated in the community as a witch. So I don't think they felt the danger that I felt,
Right.
because I was a public witch, because of going to, mainstream events. Like I didn't have them feel that. It was just this, wow, cool, different in the middle of Orange County. Here's a witch, kind of thing.
Joe Frost,
Uh-huh.
Gavin and Yvonne Frost's daughter, she spoke about this very thing. When she was growing up, it was very difficult for her because of how famous her parents were and how active they were in the pagan community. And she wanted nothing to do with it for a while because of how difficult it was and how dangerous it was sometimes for her.
Mhm.
And she has kept her children very much shielded. They are very pagan. We see them at witch events and things like that. But she does try to stay out of the limelight as much as possible, because it is difficult for people once you do get to a certain notoriety, I guess,
Right.
in the community, that, sometimes the interactions aren't always positive. You were celebrated in that one community, but like you said before, you went to bookstores and book signings where people were like, oh, how to cook a witch or whatever.
Right.
And so it's a double-edged sword, I think, and it can be a balancing act even now.
Yeah, and that's why I'm excited to go to a Barnes and Noble on Saturday, and and it was a really kind of fun and crazy thing. I brought in this amazing kit of some collections of my cousin who makes candles, another cousin who has herbs, a friend who has like an aerosol or a hydrosol spray. All these people donated this, and like today I went to this coffee shop that I have been going for 20 years. She put because I've been going for 20 years ago, I've been writing a lot of my books here. Maybe you didn't know, but here's Witch Talk. And she puts it up right in the front. There's no other posters, but she puts that poster up, and then she goes, we'll put the other one here. And it's just this, wow,
That's family. That's support.
This is family and support. And I feel like that's my spiritual work right now, is receiving the support. Is not looking for someone to throw tomatoes at me, to not look at what has been, but to think, oh, there are so many people here who are going to moon lodges and different events for the solstices of the equinoxes. Maybe not all of our holidays, but the big ones that they know about, and they're leaning into this, and they're going to sound baths. And so why wouldn't they come to this event? Why wouldn't they learn a little something? Why not go get that sandwich board and write something big and make it beautiful and stand out and say, yes, I am a witch. And
it's so just celebrated now. It's so wonderful.
Celebrated. And you got to know the time, right? You do it on a Friday the 13th in October. It's a good time.
People will show up. It's great energy.
People will show up. Yeah. And they feel more open, because I really feel like not only is the veil between the worlds thinner in terms of life and death, or fairy and human, but also, where people can think a little more expansively, at this time, maybe bend a little bit of their rigidity and see what witchcraft and this witchy life can offer them.
And I think a lot of that happened during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because
that shift.
People were bored. You had nowhere to go, nothing to do other than kind of expand your mind.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, especially when my book went into Target and I saw those numbers. I'm like, toilet paper and a book of spells. Awesome. But I agree. I feel like it was a really big in-breath for the earth. A setting point. And I wish that I felt like we had that same setting point in terms of seeing ourselves as part of that web versus the divisiveness that has unfolded. Just have more of that reflection of how beautiful nature really is. and how important it is to like look up at the sun and let, not straighten the sun, but let that our circadian rhythms come back, not always
Yes.
walking out in sunglasses sometimes, just even with your eyes closed, just to feel the sun on yourself, learning to walk with our bare feet or Reiki on our feet or whatever it is as we go about our day.
Now that you're spending a little bit of time, quote unquote, at home, what are your plans for the eclipse, the solar eclipse this weekend?
I have 2 book signing events. So the one in Barnes and Noble at 1 o'clock, and then there will be a witch walk at this place called the Anaheim Packing District, and it's the old citrus packing house built in 1919 where my grandparents met. And 10 years ago, I was the community relations manager of this place. I launched it. And now I'm coming back 10 years later with my books at the front of the steps where it all, again, circle started.
Or circles. Yeah. Look at you with all the circles and circles. This is just lovely energy here. I'm loving it.
Well, we were talking about this ancestral healing, and I think it's a real balance, especially with eclipse times coming with this just buildup of energy, right? And feeling like there's so much you want to do for your family and ancestral healing. And then on the other hand, I have friends that'll be like, well, I could do a Reiki treatment and you would just be cleared of all that. And you would never have to go through the process. You wouldn't have to carry their burdens. And I see your faces, and this is so much fun.
There is something to be said for the process.
There's something to be said for the process. And so I, like I said, I live in a place that was the first, they were the first, really honestly settlers. There's no way to put it around it. They were the colonists. They were the army and the colonists who came here to establish Southern California. So that part is the ugly, right? And then what happened is within a couple generations, they received their karma and then some with their loss of land and home and status. And so there is this one, I go to this history museum for Anaheim. So this is all right by Disneyland, all right, like literally I hear Disneyland fireworks go off at 9:45 every night, and it's war zone. It's very loud. But so there's this river that bends around us, and we're in this hill in the elbow of that river. Well, I went to the history museum not so long ago, and there was a story about a grandmother of mine who commanded four horses to be bound together and walked across the river backwards and forwards during a flood. But the part where the river bends and widens out, there was this one narrow spot where you could walk back and forth to trample down the sediment and the quicksand, and then lead people out of the area after they've been at your house for a 1 week fandango or whatever it was, and so this is exactly where I collect my sage. This is where the sagebrush grows. Exactly where this part is where they walked across. There's a monument about how the American Army camped at this spot. And this is where they crossed the river. And that's how it got its name on Santa Ana, because it was on her feast day. She's the grandmother of Jesus. And she's also the patron saint of horseback riders.
Interesting.
There's a mountain that's called Saddleback Mountain because it looks like a saddleback. And I mean, it's very alive here for me. And if people say like, well, how do you tap into like the earth? And I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe it's 10 generations. Maybe that's
how do you not? How do you not at that point? How do you not?
Especially being a witch, especially the roots and the proclivity to looking at the magic, to seeing those connections and not denying it, to feeling your room changing temperature and going, those are all those grandparents. They just keep talking to me because I got my porch light on. And and they are like, you're listening, you're going to help us. And maybe sometimes I think part of that is just how OC turned out to be such a snotty, judgmental place. Maybe it was part of that karma. Maybe it was part of what they did amongst each other. Maybe it was part of the way that they treated the first peoples here. I don't know. it's that part of Indiana Jones where you make the step and you don't know where the step's coming, but that's where you're supposed to cross.
Yeah, and you have to just keep putting your foot there and trust that next step is going to be there. Even if your
Exactly.
eyes are deceiving you a little bit, you know in your heart it's there.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like here. And so as long as it feels good to tell their stories, and there's definitely been times when I felt approached by a Native American leader here in LA, and I said, I'm not the one to tell your story. I can't trace my roots to you, and this would be offensive. And
Yeah.
this was in 2005 or around that time when I was like, I want to tell your story because you are the California Native American Joan of Arc. Her name is Toiporina, and she started a revolt against the Spanish missionaries. That was pretty badass for her. And she was pregnant and she was 24. And
Wow.
there's so much that I wanted to tell her story,
I want to
you
know this
know?
story.
Yeah.
I want
And
to hear it.
oh my God. I went to the San Gabriel mission and I could hear the cries of the native people. I could hear the whips and falling into like vats of soap. And I got so mad. I went to their church and I wrote a petition and I burned it from their candles. And I took the ashes and threw them on the sacristy.
Ooh.
I was
Yeah, you were a
pissed.
mad witch.
I was a mad witch.
Now, you had said that you didn't feel that that was your story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think your time at home will prompt you at some point to maybe tell your ancestral story, say, via a new book?
You say yes. And that is at this point the working title is River Beneath the River. And that is about this river and that subterranean river that lives in all of us. So as a metaphor. And I would hope to work on my craft of writing to be able to include the river as a narrator or a character
Ooh.
because and I would start in 1846 and I would end at modern time. And I don't know how many it will go through seven of my ancestresses, seven of my matriarchal line. And and I'm excited to see what happens because I really feel like what's at stake here is the mother-daughter wound, the sister
Mhm.
wound, especially as I see it manifest here in Southern California, where there's just so much competition and there's just not the same sisterhood. I mean, maybe in the tight circles, but you just don't see it like out in public where women greet women. And so I feel like it's not to me, it's not ancient history because I so live in it right
Mhm.
here. I feel it, and I'll have flashbacks and memories of like when the river flooded, or like it's not safe here right now. Like, why do I feel that way? This kind of thing. It has nothing to do with what's happening today. There's something historic that I'm feeling.
That connection you're feeling to the people that walked that land before
And the
and the
earth
land
too.
itself. Yeah.
And the earth and the poppies and the sage and the chaparral and just knowing like I've been gone. I live in the mountains now. I don't live here. So I came back and I'm like, look at the nopales. Oh, we would have a good feast like that. And I just like this instant memory of how you would cook it, and you can see yourself cooking it in huge vats and on outdoor stoves and just balancing that because sometimes it gets so invasive in your face. And I'm on a book signing tour. I can't write this story right now.
Right. Right. Just like the ancestors or the spirits won't let you go sometimes. Sometimes you have to tell them or tell that, hold on a second.
No, I wanna circle back to a box of magic. Like you said, you're doing your book tour. Now, you've had it out for a little while. I have been following your amazing book signing tours on Instagram. You look like you are having a blast, by the way.
I am.
Have you learned any lessons new since the release of the book?
Absolutely. My biggest lesson that I'm learning, ladies, is to receive support.
Hmm. That can be
You
very
know,
hard
That
for
uh,
that
strong
that
women.
is
That
a
can be
hard one.
hard.
Yeah.
that's my hard one. And compliments, like my friend today, we were taking a walk and she, we've been friends for 20 years. So she's watched me come out with the Wicca Cookbook and Hustle the Teen Spell Book and the Enchanted Diary and the Wicca Herbal and the, like going on and on and on. And then she's like, you've worked so hard. And I want to be like, God, you make me sound like a loser right now. Like I'm thinking to myself, part of me is like, yeah, you've worked so hard and you still aren't there yet, but you feel like you're closer. Maybe you're closer, maybe you're not. And I said, you know what? The difference is this. We've been friends for 20 years. If I was doing this, whatever, even 10 years ago, and I would have a book signing event, I would expect you to be there. You're my friend. You're there. Now I'm just grateful if you're there. I no longer expect it. And so therefore the support comes easier, it floods in more. And then it cycles back again where I'm needing to learn how to receive it. And at the same time, be like, okay, and what's happening with you? Keeping your friend file intact,
Right.
and at the same time while you're making posters and getting them over and pasting it on here or putting it over there, like just learning to be so grateful for whatever comes. It's hard because when the book first came out, its Amazon rankings were really high and I was so excited. And now they've kind of dwindled and I'm like, you know what? Don't worry about it. You're making connections. You're going out there, you're meeting your readers, you're reconnecting with people like you guys, you ladies. I always don't like to say guys, you ladies on podcasts and having connections that matter with witches who have history.
Like Amanda, who wrote your episode for the first time. People are definitely being touched by you and by your work.
Yeah, and not worrying about numbers, but just the depth of connection. Like I think that's
Quality
really exciting.
over quantity.
Yeah, and at the same time, you have that little feeling that I think, and I'm going to paraphrase this horribly, but it was like, I think it was Dalai Lama who said, by the time you reach enlightenment, you won't care. And it was something to that effect. So I feel kind of that same thing about success.
Now, I have another question. Have you talked to Connie since the release of the book?
Absolutely. She's actually, I'm like, where is she? I brought her to the Pagan Pride. So I got to share her picture with the people who studied underneath her and a picture they would never have seen before. And I feel like she commandeered that funny little happening in Eye of the Cat.
Nice. The little connection there.
The little connection. And then I called her daughter, Alexa, and we had a long conversation about how present Connie is and then I think that really the coolest part was when a dear friend of mine sent me a card and said, I don't know if anyone's told you, but I bet Connie would be very proud of you right now. And that was so powerful. Oh, I know the other thing I did. The other thing, the first one that I had a conversation with her, I remember, was when I got ready to pack up. So I'm packing up everything for 5 book signing, events. I've got
Did you forget your clothes?
I forgot my clothes.
Yeah.
I forgot my clothes at the top of the stairs. I forgot my clothes and I lay in bed at night and in this bedroom right here, the first night. And Connie said, can you do your magic on a deserted island? She asked me, can you do your magic on a deserted island? Because that's what she used to always ask me. Air is in you as your breath. Fire is in you as your spirit. Water is in you as your blood. Earth is in you as your body. You don't need a black witchy outfit to emanate your witchiness. You don't need to look like X, Y. I mean, I am a little bummed about the green cloak.
A good cloak is a good thing to have.
A good cloak is, it would have been great. And it wasn't just like the clothes. It was really about confidence because that was Connie's, what she gave me all the time because everyone's got something to work through and confidence is mine.
I hear you.
Yeah. And no matter what I do, right? Like no matter how many accomplishments and just feeling loyal to myself at every second, every choice I make for me, for my confidence, leaning in to take a sip of water versus waiting until the end of the podcast. Like, why would I do that? Those little moments when you choose yourself. So when Connie said that, and then I went to Pagan Pride, I got purple velvet pants that I would not have bought if I had left my suitcase at home. I got the most beautiful black flowy dress that will be perfect for Witch Walk.
So you were meant to leave the suitcase at the top of the
Yes,
stairs.
I was meant to know that it's in me already. There's no part I'm playing. It's coming out, that magic, that it's oozing out.
I like that it kind of like an armor that you don't need.
Yeah. Oh, darn it. Right? Are we recording this?
Yes.
Did
I
someone
told
get
you
that?
she's good.
But it's so true because
You were kind of using your clothing as a shield.
exactly. And the card that I had pulled was like, okay, what do I need to know about this for my Ganesha deck? And it came up generosity. So it came up, keep giving. Like you said, take the shield down and open up to the reciprocity that's going to happen on this tour. Because, when I first came out 23 years ago, it was like the Wicca cookbook. It was you're the Jamie Wood, and it's part of you is like you want to believe that you're coming out of your Saturn's return, and that feels good, and realizing
But you allowed yourself to open up and probably have a better experience because you were unshielded and you got purple pants.
and I got purple velvet pants.
Yeah.
And this really beautiful shawl that is all embroidered. And it's just apparently I look really good in lilac. I had no idea. And so it was just, when you put it on and people walking by in a festival stop and tell you look good. It was that kind of a moment.
Nice.
And so yeah, it was such a blessing to know that I can walk around without having to protect myself. Like you said, without having to shield myself. That connections will come. I don't need to force them. I don't need to even, I make a few and let that roll. Because sometimes as a double Capricorn, I'll just keep producing until I'm exhausted. I mean, I was going to drive down to San Diego and all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, I have 3 events in this town that I haven't made posters and put up in coffee shops. I need to stay here, and learning, I think learning pace that keeps me energetically strong.
Yes, and not outpacing yourself.
Oh, see, look, you two should put a podcast together.
We
Right?
should. Shell, what do you think?
You're just so
I think we
good.
should do this.
I think you should do that. I mean, I love this. I love the fact that in this conversation, we're all taking turns with nuggets, right?
Yeah, right. Well, I think we have a great synergy. We have a great energy together. We always love talking to you.
Yeah.
You get the magic energy going, so it's definitely fun.
Oh, thank you.
Now, we're not the only ones apparently that love and adore you, like I said with our initial Instagram comment. So I hear you got a little something that you're willing to offer here to our listeners.
Oh, yes. We would love to give you an autographed copy of A Box of Magic from me to you. I always feel that connection when I know who it is, and I will write something that's personal, versus just your name and just to a person. It's my way of intuiting something. And sometimes I'll write, you are too cool to be forgotten, like we did when we were in high school. But
right.
But in any case, I want to have a giveaway of A Box of Magic so that someone can have that. And, I'm actually would like to give the winner a choice of whether or not they want the audiobook that's narrated by me or a physical signed copy. So let someone choose which one that'll be, because everyone wants a little different.
That is a hard choice. That's almost not fair.
I know. It's just, sometimes people are tactile and sometimes people like
in their hands.
I started listening to it the other night, and I have to say I'm so excited.
Very nice that we're giving folks a chance to pick. I know what I'd pick if I were you guys, just saying. So listeners, Layla's going to tell you how you can enter.
Listeners, decide what you want. You'll have a little time to think about it, whether you want the audiobook or the signed physical copy. But go to our website, backonthebroomstick.com, and we will have right on the front page, enter here, and you can give us your email address. And we will choose a winner right before Samhain. Then we'll announce it on our episode that comes out, I believe, the Friday before Samhain.
Woohoo! Good luck, everyone.
Good luck to everyone. And again, go to backonthebroomstick.com and you'll see the space to enter right there at the beginning.
Would I be horrible if I entered myself? Listeners, I won't do that. It's all you. I'll be kind. I'll be kind.
There you go. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for joining us from your very busy book tour. I'm so excited about the book signings and all the events and the new book that you have coming up. And again, you're just glowing. I can tell that you are having a blast with all of this, and we wish you
so much
nothing
fun.
but the best.
Thank you for listening all the way through here. I hope that you gain some insight and also some inspiration from how women can support each other, how witches can support each other, how elders can support each other. And find me at jamiedella.com and Jamie Della Writes on my social media. Thanks, everyone.
Definitely catch her on her Instagram because it is a lot of fun. So thank you all so much.
Totally.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today for Back on the Broomstick. Give us some stars, give us some likes, send us some comments, give us some feedback, get us on Instagram, Back on the Broomstick. Check us out on Facebook, Back on the Broomstick. And if you want a copy of this book, whether it's in physical form or audio file, you better email backonthebroomstick@gmail.com.
And as always, keep it witchy.